The story opens with a depiction of a war between three girls. Their competition is framed as a struggle for the title of true wife, a world that separates winners from losers. The narrator poses a question to the audience. What if there was a surefire way to win this race? The title page shows a showdown between three queens of love. A boy holds a checkered flag, positioned as the prize at the center of their competition. The scene transitions to the present day where the story begins. The setting is a high school where a heroine race for a single man is about to unfold. Students walk onto the school grounds. The scene is Class 2A in April. Students are in the classroom chatting before the day begins. A student named Izumi is invited to karaoke by his friends. He questions their motive for the invitation. His friends explain it is a mixer with girls from Siren High, an event where Izumi's looks and background would be an advantage. Izumi calls them idiots and says the plan will backfire. Izumi Sumiya declares that he cannot go to the mixer. He claims he would monopolize the girls' attention and pities his friends for suggesting it. Following his declaration, Izumi stands in silence. His friends stare back at him with blank expressions, offering no reaction. Izumi asks his friends to say something so his joke doesn't fail. One of them informs him that it did in fact bomb. The friends discuss finding someone better at talking for the mixer, reconsidering their invitation to Izumi. Izumi listens as they talk about dismissing him. While his friends discuss their options, Izumi overhears them calling him pathetic. They remark that it is sad for a man to be so bashful. A girl named Amane Amasaki enters the classroom. She greets Izumi with the nickname Izumichi. Izumi notes to Amane that it has been a while since they have seen each other. Other girls in the class gather around Amane asking about her modeling work as Izumi watches. Amane explains to her classmates that her designer father took her to LA to broaden her horizons. The other students are impressed that she went overseas for her modeling work. When a classmate worries about an upcoming quiz, Amane reassures her that she's already prepared. She mentions bringing souvenirs for everyone, which leads her classmates to praise her as the top student. From his desk, Izumi thinks about Amane's reputation as a model fashion leader and top student. Amane then declares she will teach anyone who needs help, and the class cheers for her. Later that day after school, a girl comes to the classroom door, looking for Amane. She finds Amane sitting beside Izumi at his desk as he works. The girl asks if it's another study session. Amane apologizes to her friend and waves her off, indicating she can't go home yet. The friend tells Izumi that his efforts are wasted since his barely passing, but he retorts that she should just watch him get the recommendation. Amane tells her friend that she pities Izumichi because he is trying so hard. Calling Amane a goddess, the friend tells Izumi not to cause her too much trouble before leaving. Izumi continues to focus on his work. Once they are alone, Amane slams her head on the desk. She apologizes to Izumi for making him an object of pity. Amane begs Izumi to teach her how to study. Izumi sighs and tells her to stop pretending to be a model honor student, as Amane wonders why everyone is so easily fooled. Amane is too busy with work to study, and nearly failed last year. Izumi began tutoring her, and after her grades improved, she felt obligated to help others getting stuck in her honor student role. Izumi reflects that Amane must be smart to begin with, as she works hard and has absorbed enough to teach others despite her busy schedule. He continues to explain a problem to her. When the bell rings, Amane says she has to go to work. She points out that Izumi is also pretending, as he could get good grades if he tried, but he thinks life is easier when no one expects anything. As he prepares to leave, Izumi tells Amane that watching her work hard is more than enough for him. His comment leaves Amane blushing and flustered. Izumi turns to go, but Amane stops him by grabbing the hem of his jacket. Flustered and sweating, Amane stammers as she tries to call out to him. Amane asks Izumi to promise not to tell anyone that she is the one being taught. She holds onto his jacket, her face red. With her face still red, she confesses that he is the only person she shows her weak side to. Izumi smiles and tells her that he already knows. Amane lets go of his jacket and says that was all she wanted to tell him. After Izumi leaves the classroom, Amane notices a notebook he left on the desk. She sees that it is labeled 4A. Amane clutches the notebook to her chest, a wide smile spreading across her face. Kicking her feet under the desk, Amane hugs the notebook and declares aloud that Izumi must like her. She reasons that he wouldn't do so much for a mere friend, concluding their feelings must be mutual. She imagines that if one of them confessed, they would become a couple. Amane slams her hand on the desk, deciding there's no need to rush, since she's the only one who sees his true charm. Her expression then shifts to concern as she considers the potential awkwardness of dating for the first time. Leaning over her desk, Amane has a frustrated expression. A narrative caption appears labeling her as candidate number 1 in the Izumi Sumi Bowl. The scene changes to a school assembly. A speaker is giving a speech and some students in the audience yawn. When the next speaker is announced as the student council president, a student in the audience sits up straight, their eyes wide. The student council president, Hakuya Shiragiku, steps up to the podium. She asks the students to settle down, and the assembly immediately falls silent. Shiragiku introduces herself and announces the upcoming sports festival next month. Students in the audience whisper about Shiragiku, calling her the Ice Princess. They mention that she is the heiress to a famous confectionery, has top national exam scores, and recently rejected a popular basketball player. Shiragiku concludes her speech and makes eye contact with Izumi in the crowd. As the next speaker is announced, she gives Izumi a faint smile. Izumi arrives at his apartment building and opens the door to his unit number 301. Upon entering, Izumi announces that he is home. He is greeted by Hakuya Shiragiku, who is already inside his apartment. Izumi internally identifies her as the Ice Princess from school. Shiragiku welcomes him back and asks about dinner, explaining that since she lives next door, she often cooks for him. Through narration, Izumi explains that both their families run major companies. As the respective heirs, their parents had arranged for them to be married and they were once engaged. He clarifies his current situation. He is no longer the heir, which makes Shiragiku his former fiancé. Shiragiku stands smiling beside a fully prepared dinner table. Izumi thinks to himself that this is how their relationship was supposed to be. Shiragiku holds her arms out and asks for a welcome home hug. Izumi returns her greeting and lets her embrace him. After the hug, Shiragiku's expression brightens before she pouts. She tells him he should call her Hakuya Nisan. Izumi pats her on the head and tells her she did a good job. Her pout softens. Izumi's narration explains that they avoid each other at school to hide their past engagement. He notes that her behavior towards him in private has not changed since middle school. She still treats him like a little brother. While she hugs him, Izumi is acutely aware of her physical presence, finding it overwhelming. Izumi gently guides Shiragiku towards the dinner table, suggesting they eat before the food gets cold. He internally remarks on how her sense of personal distance is completely different when they are alone. After their meal, while Izumi is drying dishes, he apologizes to Shiragiku for always causing her trouble. As she washes the dishes, Shiragiku tells him not to worry, explaining it is no trouble, since she was making dinner for herself anyway. Shiragiku tells Izumi that it is natural for older sisters to spoil their younger brothers. She then turns to ask him a question. Shiragiku asks if he has anything to say about her cooking. Izumi realizes he forgot to compliment the meal and apologizes. Shiragiku presses him to be more specific. Flustered, Izumi struggles to find the right words. With a blush, Izumi suggests that her cooking might be the best in the world. Shiragiku freezes for a moment, her expression filled with joy. Shiragiku declares she will make him dinner every day. She then rushes out of the apartment, slamming the door, as Izumi protests it would be too much trouble. Outside, Shiragiku giggles to herself. In the apartment, Izumi looks at the large pot of beef stew she left behind, thinking she is getting too carried away. Back in her own apartment, Shiragiku clasps her hands, celebrating what she considers another win. Her internal monologue reveals her live-in wife strategy, a plan to use her former fiancé status to integrate herself into his life. She recalls fighting her parents' opposition to move in next door and securing a spare key to his apartment. She recalls that in middle school, Izumi was the only one who saw her as a girl, not a corporate heiress. She believes she is the only one who knows he deliberately acts like a clown. She vows to one day inherit her father's position and stay by Izumi's side. A caption identifies her as candidate number 2 in the Izumi Sumi Bowl. The scene changes to lunchtime at school where Izumi has a bento box on his desk. He reflects that his classmates would never guess his lunch was made by the student council president. As he prepares to eat, Izumi thinks that while he feels bad about it, her cooking is a huge help since he lives alone. A shout from the hallway interrupts him, warning someone to stay away from a girl named Inori. Izumi looks into the hall and sees a male student on his hands and knees being confronted by 2 female classmates. One of the girls, Haru Kesuga, explains that the male student was trying to approach her friend Inori Dumoto. Meanwhile, Inori hides behind Haru, mouthing the word help. Izumi pushes the male student aside and asks Haru and Inori why they are in the second-year classroom area. Through narration, Izumi explains that the 2 first years already famous around school are his club juniors. He identifies Inori Dumoto as the little angel, and Haru Kasuga as the little devil who protects her. Inori explains they came to ask about club activities. Izumi wonders why she didn't message him but agrees to hold a meeting, since they are all free. Inori asks Izumi if he has read a book she recommended. Izumi admits he bought it but hasn't started it yet. Haru steps between them. Haru stands in front of Inori with her arm outstretched, blocking Izumi. Inori looks at Haru with a questioning expression. Haru warns Izumi not to get lovey-dovey, with Inori stating that even small talk is not allowed. Inori tells Haru their business is done and starts to lead her away. As they leave, Haru turns back to Izumi. Haru glares at Izumi and calls him a damn lecher. Izumi stands with a stunned expression. Amane Amasaki peeks her head into the classroom. Seeing the scene, she asks Izumi if he is fighting with the other students. Later in the clubroom, which resembles a small library, Izumi, Haru, and Inori sit together in silence. Izumi's narration explains that their literature club is more of an appreciation society consisting of just the 3 of them. Their activities are limited to reading and chatting. Izumi thinks about how he, as the last member, had planned to dissolve the club. However, Haru and Inori joined, forcing him to keep it going. Inori reads a book while Haru plays on her phone. Haru notices Izumi looking in her direction and tells him not to stare with pervy eyes. Izumi thinks her accusation is baseless and concludes she only joined the club to watch over Inori since she just plays games instead of reading. As Izumi reads his mystery novel, Haru, while playing her game, spoils the plot twist. She announces that the culprit is the little sister, and Izumi reacts in shock. Inori and Haru look at Izumi's reaction. Izumi slams his book shut, then frantically flips through the pages. Izumi confronts Haru, confirming she lied about the culprit in his book. Haru looks up from her phone and states that she despises spoilers. Izumi tells Haru that even fake spoilers are still spoilers because they make him paranoid. She retorts that it's what he gets for ignoring his club juniors. Izumi thinks to himself that she is just toying with him. With a sigh, Izumi drags a chair across the floor. Haru jumps at the loud sound. Izumi sits down directly in front of Haru, placing his book on his lap. Haru stares at him, her eyes wide. Haru stammers, asking Izumi what he is doing and accusing him of showing his true colors. Izumi leans closer to Haru and observes that she always treats him like an enemy. He points out how she constantly tells him to stay away from Inori. He suggests that her behavior is an attempt to get his attention. In the background, Inori watches them, her hands clasped together. Izumi lifts Harry's chin and asks why she can't be more honest with her feelings. Harry's face reddens and she remains silent. Inori squeezes her hands together. A bead of sweat is visible on Hara's temple as she stares back at Izumi without responding. Leaning back, Izumi tells Haru that if she keeps acting that way, someone will eventually make a move on her. He then returns to his original seat. Haru throws the book she was holding, hitting Izumi in the head. She tells him to fix his attitude. Haru walks quickly out of the clubroom, calling Izumi a perv and telling him to die. Inori calls out Harris' name as she leaves. Izumi rubs his head, thinking that he went too far. He then notices the book on the floor is the same mystery novel he was reading. Standing in the doorway, Inori looks down at the floor. Later, as they walk down the stairs, Inori tells Haru the incident was her fault. She explains that since Haru had already read the book, she knew the spoiler she gave Izumi was a lie. Inori suggests Haru wants Izumi to fuss over her. She then brings up their fated reunion, prompting Haru to deny everything. A flashback shows Izumi defending Haru and Inori from delinquents, calling the girls little kittens. He was beaten up afterward. For Haru, this was their fated meeting. Inori thinks about how Haru complains that Izumi doesn't remember their encounter and treats Inori differently. A caption identifies Haru as candidate number 3 in the Izumi Sumi Bowl. The narrative introduces the heroine race. Izumi is seen walking away from the school's shoe lockers. The race is described as a struggle for survival. Amane's friend spots Izumi, but Amane stops her from approaching him. It is also called a war for the title of true wife. Shiragiku stands on a staircase as Izumi passes, hesitating to greet him. The race separates winners from losers. Haru insists she doesn't care about Izumi, so Inori offers to greet him herself. The 3 candidates have different ways of greeting Izumi. Amane, who has secret meetings with him, calls out to him. Shiragiku gives Izumi a formal morning greeting. Haru manages a stammered greeting for her senpai Izumi. As Izumi stands by the lockers, another girl approaches him. A caption announces that the fuse of the race has been lit. The girl confesses her love to Izumi and asks him to go out with her. On the staircase behind them, Amane, Shiragiku, and Haru witness the confession. Amane stares at the scene. Shiragiku also watches the scene. Haru's face contorts as she watches. Inori stands behind her. A narrator explains there is only one way to win the heroine race. A new girl appears. The narrator states that the key to victory is a love confession. The girl, identified as transfer student Nanao Nanase, holds Izumi's hand as he looks on. Izumi and Nanao are shown standing on a stage under a spotlight. The narrator declares that the curtain has been drawn on the Izumi Sumi Bowl. From the audience, Haru, Shiragiku, and Amane react. They each call out Izumi's name. A caption announces the beginning of a battle between the losing heroines and the girl who can confess. As Izumi stands motionless, the heroine race officially starts. A new chapter begins with a recap reintroducing the main character, high school student Izumi Sumie. The recap summarizes Izumi's relationships with the 3 heroines he tutors, the school idol. Amane has meals cooked by student council president Shiragiku and is teased by his junior Haru. The recap concludes with a confession from Nanao. She told Izumi she loves him and asked him to go out with her. In the present, Izumi recognizes Nanao and asks if she is the girl he met before. A flashback begins set about a week before the confession. Nanao walks alone through a school hallway. Nanao struggles with a large, heavy bag of books. She sighs. She thinks to herself that the bag is heavy and that she should have had the books delivered. As she walks, Nanao thinks about being lost at a new school with no one to rely on. A voice from off-screen asks her what is wrong. The voice belongs to Izumi, who leans against a locker. He says she looks like she is having a difficult time. Izumi leans in close to Nanao. He calls her an adorable little kitten, and her face flushes. Nanao is surprised by Izumi's comment, thinking to herself that this must be the city standard. She recalls being warned that the city is a scary place. Meanwhile, Izumi appears flustered by his own words. Izumi apologizes, explaining he only approached her because she looked like she was struggling. He internally wonders if he should have used a different approach. Nanao thinks to herself that while Izumi is a bit weird, he doesn't seem scary. Izumi then holds out his hand for her bag. Izumi takes the heavy bag and tells Nanao that a girl should have to carry something so heavy. He then asks her to explain her situation. Nanao explains that she is a new transfer student picking up textbooks because her dad was called into work. Izumi learns she is in class 2B, which is next to his own class. Izumi makes a phone call to someone named Goto-san and informs them about the transfer student. He tells the person on the phone that he will handle the situation. After hanging up, Izumi tells Nanao the books will be delivered to her house. Another student approaches and takes the bag to the staff room. Nanao wonders who Izumi was talking to. Nanao thinks about how quickly Izumi solved her problem and wonders if this is what a capable person is like. Noticing she seems lost, Izumi points her toward the school gate. As Izumi gestures with his phone, Nanao's eyes widen. She notices a small, familiar charm hanging from it. Nanao points at the phone strap and exclaims. Her sudden outburst surprises Izumi. Izumi looks at his phone charm and remarks that he didn't think anyone else still had one. He explains that it is a character from many years ago. Nanao says she liked the character when she was younger and had someone buy the same strap for her. She adds that her friends never recognized it. Looking at the charm on her own bag, Nanao says that she really likes it and has kept it there ever since. Izumi listens to her. Izumi blushes, resting a hand on his cheek. He thanks Nanao, telling her that her words made him happy. In an internal monologue, Nanao thinks that she doesn't understand why he thanked her. She only remembers that his smile in the setting sun was dazzling and made her heart pound. Nanao's flashback concludes as she thinks to herself that the feeling she had upon seeing Izumi's smile must have been love. The image shows their two matching phone charms side by side. The story returns to the present, after school. Izumi sits at his desk with his head in his hands, thinking about how the situation has gotten out of hand. Izumi recalls being teased by his classmates all day. They asked about his new girlfriend, told him to make her happy, and some told him to die. During his private tutoring session with Amane, Izumi sighs and says that everyone is overreacting to the confession. He looks to Amane for a response, but she remains silent. Amane comments that a popular guy like him must know how to handle the situation. Izumi asks her why she seems grumpy. Amane denies being bothered by the confession. Izumi internally notes that her expression shows she is not okay with it. Amane accuses Izumi of secretly not minding the attention. Izumi explains that he only helped Nanao with her transfer paperwork and is confused by her sudden confession. Amane interrupts and asks if he used a pickup line on Nanao when they first met. She specifically asks if he called her an adorable little kitten. Izumi freezes and begins to sweat. Amane says his name. As Izumi reacts, Amane turns away from him with a pout. She tells him to go be happy with the transfer student and says she does not care who he dates. Izumi says that just because Nanao is cute does not mean he would immediately accept her confession. Amane listens with her arms crossed, still facing away. Amane turns back as Izumi explains his belief that people should get to know each other before dating. She calls his view on romance old-fashioned, and Izumi looks surprised. Izumi sighs and suggests they start their study session. As he gets his book, Amane watches him, and a new thought occurs to her. Amane internally forms a new theory. She reasons that Izumi, who is single, told her about the transfer student's confession as a prelude to confessing his own feelings for her. Amane suddenly slaps Izumi on the chest, causing him to react with surprise. She declares that she understands what kind of guy he is and has known all along, leaving Izumi to wonder about her sudden change in behavior. Their session is interrupted by Nanao, who enters the classroom and places her hands on Izumi's shoulders. She asks if she can join them, and Amane reacts to her presence. Amane tells Nanao to stop stating that she and Izumi are busy. She also tells Nanao she is being too touchy, and Nanao apologizes. Amane's demeanor changes as she grabs Nanao's hands. She asks if Nanao is the model Amane-chan. Nanao reacts to Amane's sudden change in behavior. Nanao compliments Amane, saying she's famous, cute, and doesn't need photo filters. Amane reacts positively to the praise. Amane accepts the flattery. Watching them, Izumi thinks that Amane is easy to please, and that Nanao seems nice. Noticing their books, Nanao asks if they are studying together. Amane lies, claiming she is tutoring Izumi, and Nanao reacts with admiration. Izumi tries to end the conversation by telling Nanao they can talk tomorrow. Amane, however, continues to act as his tutor. Nanao asks if she can join their study session. The request leaves Amane speechless. Nanao explains that the classes at their school are ahead of her old one. She asks if her presence would be a bother. Izumi realizes he is trapped and cannot reveal he is the real tutor. He decides to go along with the charade and pretend to be the student. Amane objects loudly, telling Nanao she cannot join. She then accuses Nanao of having a moody attitude. Amane whispers to Nanao, implying their study session is a naughty one. Nanao denies this as Izumi looks on in confusion. Izumi asks Amane what has gotten into her. She whispers back that she is trying to help him and that things will get complicated if this continues. Amane turns back to Nanao and tells her it is fine if she wants to pursue Izumichi. She adds that Nanao should make sure he feels the same way about her first. Amane turns to Izumi and tells him it is cruel to lead someone on. Izumi agrees with her. Amane tells Izumi to declare who he likes. Nanao suggests it might be difficult for him to say in front of her, but Amane insists. Nanao clarifies that she does not have anyone she likes, explaining that dating for the sake of it feels wrong to her. Amane shouts in reaction to Nanao's statement, leaving Nanao and Izumi looking on. Amane realizes that if Nanao does not like Izumi, then Izumi's hesitation meant he does not like her Amane. Amane's internal monologue continues. She questions if the study notes Izumi made for her were just an act of kindness, and concludes that was all it ever was. Amane wonders if it is possible for Izumi to do so much for her without romantic feelings. She concludes that it is. Amane flashes back to when she told Izumi about her vulnerability. She now understands that when he said he knew, he meant it literally, not romantically. As her soul appears to leave her body, Amane begins to laugh at her desk. Izumi watches her and asks if she is alright. Nanao pulls her chair next to Izumi and asks for help with a problem. As he begins to explain, she comments on how he seems unfazed by Amane's behavior. Nanao asks Amane for help, causing Izumi to react. Amane explains how to use a formula, noting it was something she learned from him. Izumi wonders how long he can keep up the charade, thinking Amane is not in a stable state of mind. He then notices something in Nanao's notebook. Izumi sees that Nanao has already solved much harder problems than the one she is asking about. He wonders if she is pretending not to know the basics. As Izumi processes this, Nanao looks up from her notes and smiles at him. Izumi begins to sweat as he realizes that Nanao is deliberately pretending not to understand. Izumi observes the situation. He and Nanao are pretending to be students, while Amane, who needs the help, is acting as the tutor. He internally calls the scene a farce. Nanao leans over Izumi, placing a hand on his shoulder as she writes in her notebook. Izumi reacts to her proximity. Amane watches Nanao and Izumi. Her face flushes. Nanao slides her hand down Izumi's arm and squeezes it. She asks where they were in the lesson. Izumi begins to sweat. Nanao looks at Izumi and smiles. Blushing, Izumi tells her to hold on. Nanao leans in and whispers in Izumi's ear, telling him he has long fingers and that he is cool. Izumi is left speechless. After watching the exchange, Amane puts her head down on her desk. Amane stands and announces she has to leave for work. She quickly exits the classroom, leaving Nanao and Izumi alone. Later, as Izumi is leaving the school, he thinks about Nanao's behavior and leaving Amane behind. Nanao calls out to him from the shoe lockers. Nanao catches up to Izumi and asks to walk home together. She asks him if his heart is made of steel. Izumi thinks to himself that she is more of a handful than he expected. Izumi covers his face with his hands. Nanao watches him with a questioning look, clutching her phone with the matching charm. Izumi asks Nanao if she understood what was happening during their study session. Nanao confirms that she did. Izumi explains that Amane is under pressure from her father and is trying to live up to the perfect image expected of her. Izumi asks Nanao to keep Amane's situation a secret. Nanao smiles and tells him she's got it. Nanao thinks to herself that teasing Izumi is a separate matter from keeping Amane's secret. Izumi observes her shift in demeanor, wondering what happened to their serious conversation. Nanao leans in and whispers to Izumi, promising she will make him fall in love with her. As Izumi and Nanao walk home from school, a voiceover from Hakuya Shirigiku identifies Nanao Nanase as the late-arriving transfer student from Class 2B. Standing in the empty classroom, Shirigiku looks at the desks where Izumi and Nanao were. She resolves that she will not let Nanao have her way. Shirigiku suddenly wakes up at her desk. She asks where she is and what time it is. The next day at lunch, Izumi approaches his friends. Noting their expressions, he asks if he did something wrong. One of them asks if he already bought food. One of his friends accuses Izumi of coming to laugh at them for their failed mixer and tells him to go eat with the transfer student. Izumi clarifies that he is not dating Nanao and thinks his friends are being paranoid. His friends ask why he isn't dating Nanao, accusing him of thinking he is a big shot. Izumi internally compares their complaints to those of entitled customers. A friend insists that Nanao is the perfect pure type and questions why Izumi is being picky. Izumi decides to eat alone as his friends shout insults after him. A new chapter begins titled Versus the Ice Princess. On the school rooftop, Izumi sits down to eat. Nanao appears and sits on the same bench. Izumi wonders how Nanao keeps finding him. He asks if she ever has days where she doesn't bring a bento, and she confirms that today is one of them. Nanao explains that her mother usually makes her lunch. Izumi reflects that this is the first time Shiragiku hasn't brought him a bento, and worries that something might have happened to her. While eating, Nanao mentions that some boys in class think she is the pure type. Izumi tells her to quit pretending, which makes her blush. Izumi says that while others see pure white Nanao, he only sees dark Nanao, the little devil. Nanao asks if he thinks she has a split personality, then declares she loves him regardless. Izumi identifies her declaration as her dark side. Izumi brushes his hair back and replies that hearing such a confession from a wonderful girl doesn't make him feel bad. His response leaves Nanao momentarily speechless. Izumi internally celebrates what he believes is a flawless comeback. He then notices Nanao is blushing and questions if his counterattack had the intended effect. Nanao recovers from her blush and tells Izumi that everything she does is because she likes him. She explains she is trying to make him think she is wonderful, which leaves Izumi taken aback by her directness. Their conversation is interrupted by Amane Amasaki, who appears on the rooftop. She seems surprised to see Izumi and claims she wandered up there by chance. Izumi notes it is rare for Amane to be on the roof. Amane and Nanao lock eyes, sizing each other up. A visual effect shows sparks between Amane and Nanao. They stand opposite each other. Amane sits close to Izumi and asks to eat lunch with him. Izumi feels pressure from her. Nanao leans over Izumi and asks Amane if she came to the roof to chase after him. Caught off guard, Amane spits out the milk she is drinking. Amane denies the accusation, insisting her presence is a coincidence. Izumi tells her to calm down and wipe the milk from her face. Another person arrives on the rooftop and comments on the scene. It is Hakuya Shiragiku, the student council president. While wiping her face, Amane recognizes the newcomer as the student council president and appears surprised. Shiragiku greets Izumi by his last name and smiles, surprising him. Two other students on the roof whisper, wondering who the boy is that the ice princess is smiling at. Amane leans in and whispers to Izumi, asking how he knows the president. Izumi is unable to explain. Izumi thinks that their secret relationship is about to be exposed. He notes that Shiragiku seems comfortable talking to him in front of others. Shiragiku looks at Nanao and Amane, who are sitting with Izumi. She then announces that Izumi is her fiancé. Amane and the other students react with surprise to the word fiancé. Izumi calls out to Shiragiku as Hakuya-ni-san. Shiragiku introduces herself to Nanao as the student council president and extends her hand. Nanao accepts the handshake and introduces herself. Shiragiku continues, stating that as her family's heir and the student council president, she understands Nanao has been taking care of her fiancé Izumi. Izumi appears awkward. Shiragiku internally reflects that she got carried away but feels confident. Nanao now understands the difference in their positions. Nanao becomes energized by the revelation. She declares that obstacles are what make love exciting. Nanao tells Izumi he should have mentioned having a fiancé. He corrects her, stating Shiragiku is his ex-fiancé. Nanao concludes that if the engagement is over, there is no problem. Shiragiku is taken aback by Nanao's resilience. A rivalry sparks between the two. Amane grabs Izumi and shakes him, asking why the president is his fiancé and why he calls her ni-san. Nanao observes Amane, realizing she may be a tougher rival than first anticipated. Shiragiku decides to use a tactic she had hoped to avoid. She lifts her bag, holding it out with both hands. Shiragiku tells Izumi he forgot his bag that morning. Izumi looks confused, questioning if he really did. Opening the bag, Shiragiku reveals a bento box. She thinks to herself that this was her plan, having intentionally kept his lunch to demonstrate the difference in their class. Shiragiku approaches the group on the bench. She takes out a pair of chopsticks and prepares to feed Izumi a piece of his lunch. As she gets closer, Shiragiku freezes, unable to follow through. Izumi looks at her with a confused expression. Shiragiku panics, internally realizing she cannot bring herself to feed him in front of other people. She reflects that her Operation Lovey-Dovey homemade bento feeding had one fatal flaw. The narration explains that Hakuya Shiragiku is the student council president known as the Ice Princess. She is also the heir to the Shiragiku confectionery, destined to lead the company one day. Narration explains that for Shiragiku, this is a matter of public image. Feeding Izumi in front of everyone would damage the reputation she has carefully maintained. In a flashback, Shiragiku recalls her duty as the heir to the Shiragiku confectionery and the many people whose livelihoods depend on the company. Back in the present, Shiragiku remains frozen, chopsticks in hand. Amane and Izumi look at her, confused by her behavior. Nanao takes the chopsticks from Shiragiku's bento. She picks up a piece of food and feeds it to Izumi, telling him to say "ah." Izumi blushes as Nanao asks him how it was. Shiragiku watches as Nanao carries out her plan. Izumi says it tastes good but complains that her action was embarrassing. Nanao smiles, stating she made that egg roll herself. Amane looks over at the bench and notices Shiragiku is gone. Izumi is flustered by what just happened. Shiragiku stomps down a set of stairs, her expression filled with anger. Other students react to her angry presence. Shiragiku thinks to herself that she lost because of her own weakness. Shiragiku imagines Nanao calling her a small fry. Narration clarifies this is her imagination. She thinks that she has never been so humiliated. She acknowledges Nanao as her rival and vows to win Izumi back. The vice president of the student council runs up the stairs, calling out to Shiragiku. The vice president says she has been looking for her. Shiragiku gets an idea and thinks that this is the only way. Meanwhile, in the library prep room, Haru and Inori read a group chat message about a second-year couple feeding each other on the roof. Inori calls the transfer student bold and Haru calls her shameless. Haru then notes that Izumi has texted her. Haru reads a text from Izumi in the literature club chat. He apologizes and says he is bringing someone to check out the club. Inori looks at Haru. In the student council room, Hakuya Shiragiku slams her hand on a whiteboard. She proposes an official campus-wide ban on the "say ah" feeding gesture, and the vice president reacts to her declaration. Meanwhile, Izumi walks through the school hallway, appearing tired. He drags his bag behind him and sighs. Izumi recalls the chaotic lunch involving Amane and Shiragiku. He decides to go to the literature club after school to relax and read. As he walks, Nanao slides up beside him and calls his name. Her appearance causes Izumi to jump. With a serious expression, Izumi thinks about how Nanao is at the center of the recent events. He tells her to stop writing on his back with her finger. Nanao compares Izumi's reaction to a bug landing on him. She points out that his rhythm has been thrown off ever since she transferred. Izumi thinks to himself that his life wasn't disrupted when she transferred, but from the moment she confessed. He flashes back to her, telling him she loves him and asking him to go out with her. Izumi thinks about how much her confession has affected him. As they walk, Nanao appears on both sides of him, repeatedly calling his name. Nanao asks if he is heading to his club and says she is looking forward to it. Izumi thinks to himself that he was trying to forget he had invited a visitor. Nanao stops and looks at him with a surprised expression. She asks if he is in the literature club. Nanao's expression brightens. She declares that she would like to observe the club and that it has to be today. Izumi thinks about the trouble he has with Hera's pranks. He worries that with Nanao also present, he won't be able to relax and read. Nanao explains that she is in the archery club, but practice was cancelled for the day. She whispers this into Izumi's ear, and he tells her to stop. Izumi decides to let Nanao observe the club. He recalls that he already sent a message to the club's first years announcing he was bringing someone. Upon entering the literature club room, they find Haru Kasuga standing with her arms crossed. With a stern expression, she asks the outsider to leave. Inori sits smiling in the background. Nanao looks up at Izumi, sensing the tension created by Haru's welcome. Izumi sweats, caught off guard by the confrontation. Izumi recalls a conversation with Inori. She had told him that Haru only shows an aggressive side when she is protecting her and is usually calm. Based on what Inori said, Izumi understands Harris' behavior towards him, as she views him as a threat. He wonders, however, why she is directing the same treatment towards Nanao. A thought strikes Izumi. He believes he now understands the reason for Harris' behavior. Izumi's first thought is that Haru dislikes having more people in their cramped club room. He dismisses this idea. In an internal monologue, Haru considers the literature club to be the only connection she and Inori have with their senpai Izumi. Haru thinks about Nanao's recent actions. She remembers Nanao confessing to Izumi on her first day and feeding him a bento in public. To protect their space, Haru resolves to stop the intrusion of this shameless third wheel. She turns to Inori expecting support. Inori ignores Haru and welcomes Nanao. She brings a chair for their guest, stating they cannot leave her standing. Inori drags a protesting Haru away from the entrance. She tells Nanao not to pay attention to her friend's behavior. Haru whispers to Inori, asking what she is doing. Inori looks away and smiles. Inori closes her eyes. She tells Haru that she hates to be the one to tell her this. Inori declares that Haru loses because she took too long to make her move. Haru calls Inori a traitor. Izumi steps in. He tells Haru that Nanao is not a bad person, and is just a very cute junior. Nanao observes Haru's reaction. She wonders if her appearance scared her, but concludes that Haru does not seem fazed. To break the tension, Izumi asks Nanao if she was in the archery club at her previous school. Nanao asks if he is fascinated with her. Izumi denies it, saying it was just a normal question. Nanao claps her hands together and exclaims that she has an idea. Smiling, Nanao asks Izumi to go on a date with her over the weekend. Izumi stares at her, questioning how their conversation led to a date proposal. Haru's face reddens at the word date. Beside her, Inori covers her mouth, smiling. Nanao clarifies that since she is new to the city, she just wants someone to show her around Tokyo. Izumi agrees, stating that if it is not a date, he would not refuse such a simple request. After he agrees, Nanao calls out to him as senpai. Izumi's face reddens at her direct address. Haru interrupts and confronts Izumi. She tells him not to treat the club room as his private property for flirting, and that his position as president is only due to the seniority system. Izumi apologizes, his face red. Izumi sighs, looking down after Harris' lecture. Haru continues to stare at Izumi, stammering as she tries to make another point. Izumi points out that Nanao's request for a date turned out not to be one. Nanao's face reddens, and she stammers, not responding to his comment. Izumi watches them, his brow furrowed, as he wonders what is happening. Haru trembles as she asks if Izumi and Nanao are going out. In the background, Inori takes a photo of Harris' expression, calling the moment peak. Izumi denies that he and Nanao are dating, reminding Haru they only just met. Nanao pouts in the background as Haru visibly relaxes. Izumi adds that there is not anyone he would want to date. At his statement, Haru freezes in place. Inori observes the scene and thinks to herself that Izumi's declaration also means Haru still has a chance with him. To break the tension, Izumi suggests they begin club activities. Inori pulls Haru away from the center of the room. Inori whispers to Haru, telling her to calm down. She explains that confirming Izumi and Nanao aren't dating is a win for now. Inori continues to whisper, warning Haru not to give Izumi a worse impression of her. Haru groans as Izumi watches from a distance. Observing the scene, Izumi looks concerned. He wonders if everyone around him has started acting strange lately. Later, Izumi and Nanao read a book together. Nanao asks if he is ready to turn the page, but Izumi tells her to hold on. Watching them, Haru comments that their good mood must be foreshadowing a tragedy. She then criticizes their method of reading. Haru asks why they need to be so close to read one book and demands quiet. Inori thinks to herself that Haru is being hypocritical. Izumi apologizes and suggests Nanao give him a non-verbal signal to turn the page. Inori thinks it would be simpler if they used two separate books. The club room is silent. Haru and Inori sit on one side while Izumi and Nanao sit together on the other, sharing a book. While reading, Izumi jolts. He looks down with a surprised expression. Nanao has placed her hand on Izumi's thigh. This is her signal to turn the page. When she is ready for the next page, Nanao pinches Izumi's thigh. Izumi begins to sweat and looks over at Nanao. He wonders what she is doing. Nanao continues to use physical touch as her signal stroking Izumi's leg. He looks uncomfortable with her actions. From across the room, Haru and Inori watch the exchange with confused expressions. Haru turns to Inori and stammers, asking what Izumi and Nanao are doing. Inori responds that she wonders as well, and both look uncomfortable. Izumi sweats, thinking this is a bad situation. He wonders what this girl is doing to him. Nanao looks up at Izumi with a deadpan expression. She calls his name. Nanao tells Izumi to turn the page, pointing out that she has been giving him the signal. Izumi shouts back, asking what kind of signal that is. Haru abruptly stands up from her chair. Her movement startles Izumi and Inori. Without a word, Haru walks to the clubroom door. Izumi watches her with a confused expression. Haru opens the door and steps into the hallway, leaving the others in the room. Once outside, Haru takes a deep breath. Peeking back into the room, Haru yells, asking if the clubroom is a hostess bar. Her shout echoes. In an internal monologue, Haru thinks that Nanao reading with her senpai is cheating. She reflects that she was also secretly reading the same book as Izumi. Gritting her teeth, Haru thinks to herself that she cannot let this stand. If this is how Nanao wants to play, she will respond in kind. Haru marches back into the room and sits in the chair on Izumi's other side. Her action startles him while Nanao looks on. With a determined look, Haru announces that she will read with him as well. Izumi looks at her with a confused expression and asks why. Izumi turns to Inori for help. He asks her to say something to Haru. Inori holds up her phone with a smile. She says the scene looks funny and that she is taking a video. Izumi realizes Inori is enjoying the situation and will not help. Haru tells Izumi to open the book, comparing the situation to a video game where a second of hesitation can lead to defeat. Haru continues complaining that while Izumi and Nanao are flirting, she is trying to focus. In the middle of her sentence, Haru freezes. Izumi looks at Haru, who has suddenly stopped talking. Haru's face flushes and she begins to sweat. In an internal monologue, she wonders what she was about to say. In her thoughts, Haru realizes she almost blurted out something strange. She considers that competing to sit next to Izumi and read with him might imply something about her feelings. Izumi asks Haru if she is okay, pointing out that she is acting strangely. His comment makes her jolt as Nanao watches. Suddenly, Haru loses her balance and falls backward off her chair. Izumi's eyes widen. Inori catches Haru before she hits the floor. She tells Izumi that this happens sometimes. Nanao lets out a sigh watching the scene unfold. Inori helps a stiff and unresponsive Haru back to her feet. Izumi watches them. Haru wobbles toward the door, announcing that she is going home. Izumi asks if she is all right. Inori says that she is also leaving and calls out for Haru to wait for her. Izumi watches as his two juniors depart. Outside the clubroom, Izumi apologizes to Nanao for the weird atmosphere. Nanao tells him it is fine. Nanao comments that Izumi is quite popular. Izumi looks at her and asks who she is talking about. Nanao clarifies she is talking about Haru, asking Izumi if he is adored by his junior. She describes Haru as a tsundere without the affectionate dare part. Izumi looks confused and asks what she means. Nanao looks at Izumi's confused reaction with a thoughtful expression. Nanao changes the subject, saying she is looking forward to the weekend. Izumi asks her to confirm their outing is not a date. Elsewhere, Inori tells Haru she needs to be more honest with herself. As Haru gets flustered, Inori tells her that Izumi will be stolen away if she continues to act this way. Inori points out that while Haru is hesitating, Izumi and Nanao are going on a date this weekend. Haru looks down, sweating and unable to respond to what Inori said. As Haru and Inori walk down a school hallway, two other girls approach them from behind and call out to them. The two girls stand in front of Haru and Inori. They ask about the conversation they just overheard. Haru and Inori look startled as the two girls block their path in the hallway. On the weekend, Izumi stands on a busy street corner in front of a large building checking his phone while he waits. A voice calls Izumi's name, and he looks up from his phone. Nanao, dressed in casual clothes, arrives. She smiles and apologizes for keeping him waiting. Izumi blushes slightly and tells Nanao she is not late, pointing out that she is 10 minutes early. Nanao explains she got confused by the frequent city trains and lost track of time. Izumi listens. Nanao smiles and claps her hands together. She declares that she does not intend to let herself be pushed around all the time. Izumi tells Nanao she is making excuses, which is unlike her usual composure. He adds that today he intends to take the lead. Izumi suggests the real reason she arrived early was not because of the trains, but because she wanted to see him sooner. Nanao blushes. She thinks to herself that Izumi's preemptive strike was successful. Laughing, Nanao recovers from her blush and admits that Izumi was right. Nanao gets close to a flustered Izumi and asks for his thoughts on her casual clothes. Nanao asks if his clothes are brand new just for their meeting. Izumi thinks to himself that she has countered his move. Blushing Izumi insists it is a coincidence and that he was planning to buy new clothes anyway. Nanao gives him a knowing look. As they walk, Nanao slips her hand into Izumi's. He doesn't pull away but is visibly flustered by the action. Nanao looks up at him and asks if this means their outing is a date after all. Izumi quickly pulls his hand away from Nanao, startling her. He insists that their outing is not a date. Nanao stifles a laugh at his reaction. Nanao laughs and tells Izumi that trying to act like a player is a stretch for him. Izumi thinks to himself that her dark side is showing again. Nanao winks and comments that he is surprisingly particular for someone who claimed not to like anyone. She asks if boys are not supposed to just start dating a girl after she confesses. In response to Nanao's direct question, Izumi hesitates before explaining his reasoning. A flashback reveals a memory of a voice calling him a good-for-nothing. With a somber expression, Izumi explains that he cannot imagine making someone spend their time just for him. Nanao looks at him as he gives his self-deprecating explanation. She continues to look at him with a thoughtful expression. Izumi abruptly grabs Nanao's wrist and tells her it is time to go, startling her. He holds her hand, explaining that it would be dangerous if they got separated in the crowded streets. Blushing, Izumi asks Nanao if she is aware of how cute she is. Flustered by his direct compliment, Nanao stammers in agreement. As Izumi leads Nanao away, a girl in a school uniform steps out from behind a truck and watches them. The girl is part of a group of 4, including Amane, who are watching the outing. Amane sees Izumi and Nanao leaving and tells the others to follow them. One of the other girls, Haru Kasuga, thinks to herself that she wants to go home and questions why she had to come along.